Daniel and Ambassador Nuland, throughout the campaign, the administration took a few steps to attempt to warn Russia against additional activities. I think that includes the October 7th statement and direct warnings from the President, from Director Brennan, and over the cyber hotline. Do you believe any of these efforts had any deterrent effect at all?
Thanks, Senator Rubio. I think it's pretty well unknowable what the total effect might have been. It appears that there may have been a slowing of Russian activity in September after the President directly warned President Putin, but clearly by the middle of October that activity had resumed in full force.
I would agree that it's essentially unknowable. I think that it did, I believe it prompted them to shift some of their focus away from trying to penetrate state-level voter systems and focus more on the influence operations. But again, I think that it's a very difficult question to answer.
Well, in that context, you both, I think the date you pointed to was October. When you said you thought it might have restarted up, even if in a different direction, mid-October?
I think the Russians were constantly reevaluating the opportunity that this operation gave them and seeing more and more advantage. I think by mid-late October, they may well have changed their calculus about the outcome of the election and accelerated their influence operation accordingly.
So in that context, and this happened after the President's warning, the later release of the Podesta emails, do you ascribe that to kind of moving in a different direction in terms of and in particular towards the influence campaign that Mr. Daniel referred to, as opposed to the attacks on state systems and the like?
I wasn't involved in working with the states. Obviously, I was only involved in the Russian piece of it. I think what we saw was a move from the release of the emails into our political conversation among ourselves, moving later in the campaign to the acceleration using the bot networks and using the internet accounts that they had established to push false narratives that were popular on the fringes of U.S. politics and to try to mainstream those. I forgot the exact quote, but you had said a moment earlier that if you push and you hit something hard, you stop, and if you feel mush, you keep pushing. In that context, why did Vladimir Putin think he could get away with treating the United States the way he treats countries in his near abroad that they think should be under Russia's control and under their thumb? Why did he feel, in your opinions, that he could get away with that or treating us in the same way? In my experience with this particular leader, if you don't make these aggressive moves cost directly for him and his circle in his own context, then he will keep pushing.
I don't really have anything to add on top of what the ambassador has said.
But ultimately, I guess it sounds what you're saying, to rephrase it, is he has a cost-benefit analysis. Here's the price of doing this. Here's the benefit of doing it. I believe the benefit outweighs the cost, and therefore, I'm going to do it.
I think it's probably the case that the Russians expected deterrent measures and didn't see them, and so felt they could keep pushing.